welcome back. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm starting a new little series here where we're going to be having slumber party scary stories. So I'm just gonna get comfortable like we're having a slumber party. You guys can go ahead and grab a snack, grab your favorite drink, and just hang out with me while I tell you some of my fun childhood slumber party scary stories, and also look for new ones to share with you guys. I'm so excited for this new series, and I'm just gonna start off by just telling a couple of my favorite childhood scary stories that we used to tell on bus rides to field trips and when we were hanging out at recess trying to be scary during the Halloween season. Okay, so the first story I'm going to start with is a story of a girl and her dog. So the story starts out that every single night this girl is in a routine of when she goes to bed, she puts her hand down the side of her bed for her dog to lick the palm of her hand. And that way she has comfort of knowing her dog is right next to her, because she lives alone, and as a lot of us women know, it's scary when you're on your own. And so her dog will just lick her hand every night, and so that is their routine. Well, one night she wakes up in the middle of the night and she hears a drip, drip, drip. And so she's a little bit weary about it. She gets up, she goes and checks her sink, and the sink isn't on. She checks her kitchen sink, and the kitchen sink isn't on. And so she's a little bit concerned about where the drip sound is coming from, but she decides to just go back to bed. So she crawls into bed, and then she puts her hand down the side of the bed again, and she feels her dog lick her hand. So she starts to go back to sleep. She wakes up again in the middle of the night and hears the drip, drip, drip again. And so she gets up to go and check the bathroom sink and the kitchen sink, and of course both of them are not on again. So then she turns to her shower and decides to look at her shower. Now this part is not my favorite part. She finds her dog, unfortunately dead, in the shower, and that's where it ends. So who was licking her hand? Because apparently the drip drip sound was her dog in the shower. That one has always scared me. I don't like that one at all. It's awful. First of all, I hate when dogs are harmed in scary stories, but how awful. Like, the comfort thing that she did with her dog, somehow this psycho knew about it and was hiding under her bed to lick her hand. How awful. And I just hate that the story ends there, because you don't know what happens. I've always, it's bugged me, so I try to make my own ending. So you guys tell me how you think the story ends from there. I would love to see you guys finish that story for me. Okay, so our next story is actually going to be Click Click Screech. This one, I don't even know why, but this one was my favorite one to tell when I was growing up. I thought it was so terrifying, and I just thought it was such a fun story. So let's get into this one. Okay, so the story starts, this newlywed couple moves into their house together, and the house was previously owned by a different couple, and I guess the wife had died, and so the husband decided to sell the house and move away because he couldn't be in the house that was their house anymore without her. And so this new couple's in the house, and the wife is doing the dishes, and as she's doing the dishes she realizes that there's something clogged up in their sink because the sink just isn't draining correctly. So she starts to kind of look into the sink and see if she can get out what she needs to get out, but she can't. So she of course calls a plumber, and a plumber comes, and he's like, it's just this weird diamond ring that was stuck in the sink. And so the lady decides, well, that's a really pretty ring, I want to keep it. So she pays the plumber and he leaves, and she decides to start wearing the ring. Well, a few days go by and she's home alone at night, and she hears click, click, screech. And she has no idea what's causing the sound, but she can hear it. Click, click, screech, click, click, screech. So she goes and looks out the window of her house, and she sees this corpse that is only from the waist up, clawing its way up her driveway towards her house. click, click, screech, click, click, screech. And so obviously she tries to get away, but she doesn't get away, and the corpse gets her because she was wearing his ring. So apparently the story is that this corpse comes after whoever wears his ring because he was murdered. So this corpse haunts anybody that wears his jewelry or anything that was his, because his grave was robbed by grave robbers, and they took his precious jewelry and his precious belongings, and so he haunts whoever has his things. So unfortunately, the girl who was unaware ended up dead because she wore his diamond ring. I don't know why I always liked that one. I just thought it was so creepy, because like, just imagine the click click screech and like looking out your window and that's what you see. I don't know why, but when I was younger, I actually got my parents to come home from a date early because I told them that there was this really scary man that broke into the house, and I told them that I was hiding in the bathroom, and I had the phone, and he was in the house, and I didn't know what to do. So, you know, 3-4-year-old me thought that that was just like so clever to get my parents home. But from my perspective now, if I had a 3-year-old telling me that someone had broken into the house, I would be terrified and be hightailing it to the house. So I didn't realize what I was putting my parents through when I called them and told them that, but I was just satisfied with myself because I was able to get my parents home. But the person that I described to them was a man. Half his face was messed up and then the other half was like normal, and I said that like one side was spiked up, the other side was like missing hair or whatever, and I said he had red hair and he had like scratches on his face, and I made him sound really scary. And I honestly don't know where I came up with this person to like make up and tell my parents that he was breaking into the house just so that they would come home and I didn't have to be home with my sisters as babysitters anymore. I mean, I'd like to think that it was like my way of kind of making up a person out of seeing Chucky, because at this age I had actually seen Chucky. My older sisters would watch that stuff all the time, so you're gonna see it when you walk into a room or whatever. But I mean, I'd like to think that that's where I came up with this crazy, scary sounding person, but the more I like think about it and the more I like realize all the stuff that was going on in the house at the time, like I'm kind of concerned that the only reason I was able to make up this scary person is maybe it was someone I had actually seen that wasn't living anymore. I don't know, but the click click screech just always reminds me of that story of me telling my parents about that crazy scary person that was in the house. I mean, for all I know, maybe I didn't make him up. I mean, this is from my mom's perspective. I obviously don't remember. Maybe I did think someone was in the house and that's why I called my mom. Maybe I was seeing something that other people weren't seeing. I don't know, but that story, like, it's a fun story to laugh about and stuff now, but it's actually kind of creepy because can you imagine being a little kid seeing that? If I had seen that or just making that up? Kids are crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna end this video on the story of Bloody Mary, but I'm gonna tell it how I used to tell it and then tell you guys a little story that happened to me because I told the story so much to all of my friends every time we were together at nighttime. So my story that I had actually heard of Bloody Mary, I don't know who first told me it. I'm gonna assume it was my older sisters because they basically told me everything scary that I knew at this point. I was still pretty young. But the story that I was told and the way I told it is there was this really beautiful woman named Mary, and her husband was a carpenter. Well, he would leave some of his tools in their vehicle. And one day Mary had taken the vehicle and had gone out and gotten in a wreck. Well, when she got in a wreck, one of the tools in the back of the car flew forward and got her in the head, instantly killing her. And so the reason she's called Bloody Mary is because she was very bloody at the scene of the accident, and the reason she comes and haunts back is because she's angry about the tools being the reason that killed her in her car accident. I think that was just the really like mild way that I was told it. I think that's the story maybe my mom told us all. Very calm story of who Bloody Mary is compared to what the actual story is that is out there and a lot of people tell. But I would tell this story to all of my friends. And of course, when you're younger, you gotta like make it a little bit more dramatic and you gotta tell the story like, ooh, so creepy. And you gotta talk about Bloody Mary haunting people. And then the saying Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror was my favorite part of the story that I would tell all my friends. And I got my karma for it. So I would tell all of my friends the story and freak them out about it. And when I got a little bit older, I went over to a friend's house and they decided that they were going to play Bloody Mary whether I liked it or not. So we all took turns going into the bathroom in groups of 2 doing the Bloody Mary ritual. Now, 2 groups of people went before me and tried to do it, and so not only am I double whammied because I'm the 3rd person going in to try and do it, but the more numbers of 3s with these kinds of things is just not good at all. And at this point I had already had my own haunting that I was dealing with in my own bedroom, so I wasn't really on board with this. But you know, when you get with a group of friends and they think it's funny, they're gonna push you into that dark room and lock the door behind you to make sure that you're in there. So at least I was in there with somebody else and not just myself. But as I go in there, I'm like freaking out. I'm not saying it. I'm not participating. The friend that I was in there with is saying her name and doing all of that in the mirror. I won't look in the mirror. I'm freaked out. We're in the dark. They won't let me turn the lights on. And I hear a blood-curdling scream. And the person that I'm with in there is like, I just saw something move over there. So I'm obviously freaking out. I'm trying to run the heck out of that bathroom. And his older brother had hid in the shower. And he's the one who screamed and jumped out at us as we were passing the shower to try and escape the scary room. That was my karma for all the years that I decided to tell all of my friends those scary stories, because apparently that story really stuck with them and they got into scary stuff after being my friend. And they just waited about 7 years to scare the absolute crap out of me in return for telling them scary stories all the time as kids. Well, those are the 3 stories that I have for you guys. I'm gonna have different stories every time. These are just my top 3 favorite stories that I feel like I told the most growing up, but I'm definitely gonna look into different slumber party type scary stories and, you know, bus ride type scary stories and share them with you guys. If you guys have one of your favorite scary stories that you told growing up, please just leave it in a comment below and I'll include it in one of these videos. I would love to tell you guys' favorite scary stories, because then this turns into a real slumber party of sharing scary stories. Please let me know if you guys like this kind of a video. I'm having fun with it. I really do feel like I'm sitting here telling scary stories with friends at a sleepover like I used to as a child, because you just don't do this stuff when you grow up anymore. And I think we should bring it back. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys were sitting in a dark room with snacks while you watched this, because let's have fun with it. Get your favorite comfy blanket and let's make this a thing. I want to do this once a month, every month. I actually had a lot of fun filming this today. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend.